Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a video I never thought I'd say, but we're reviewing Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn. If you guys don't know, it is the $40 DLC to Tales of Arise, coming in roughly almost 2 years-ish since the original release of Tales of Arise, and we kind of all know my opinions on that already. Once again, I love Tales of Arise. It was a great combat experience, but story-wise, it fell quite a bit short. And today we're kind of going into the review of Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn. And once again, if you guys pretty much want a summary of it, don't buy it. It is literally $40, and I think it's maybe at stretching it at best $10. The game, the director originally said the game would take you 20 hours to beat 100%. I can tell you, but right now, if you play like I do and do everything, you're looking at 10 hours at most. So honestly, it's a flat out lie saying it's at 20 hours. And even 20 hours for $40, that's quite a bit steep of a price if you ask me. So let's kind of delve into the game itself and just look at everything gameplay wise, story wise, everything. And to be honest, nothing has changed combat wise. There is no new additions to no new additions, new characters, no new equipment, no new arts. So once again, it's the same gameplay. If you like the gameplay, it's the same thing there. The biggest mishap, other than the train wreck that is the DLC, is the fact that you can't gain everything in the base game. Even though this is a sequel to the base game, essentially happening after the base game, you get access to none of it. And it really comes into play when you're re-grinding everything that you grinded before. The same equipment, the same levels, everything you're grinding for is exactly the same. And it's really noticing, and I think that was the biggest misstep, was to make that decision where you do not transfer anything over from the base game. And they reason it by saying, we want people to start this DLC at the exact same point as everybody else is. Everyone's on the same baseline. You can start wherever even though if you never beat the original game. Even though they literally have bonuses for beating the original game at level 100. I do not understand why they did this decision. It was literally one of the most cock and ball sucking measures I've ever seen in the game. Literally, there was no need to do that. Just give everybody what they earned from the base game. You should not be playing this DLC if you have not beaten the base game. You really should not be. So once we get through that, it's literally the same areas, and they compress it, so it's really lazy handwork. Essentially, there's only 3 new areas, which is essentially the 3 new dungeons. Everything else in the game is exactly the same as you would have seen in the original game. There's nothing there that impresses you, nothing new. The new dungeons are very boring and bland. They're the exact same things you would see in part 2 of the game. So it's not necessarily anything of like serious consequence, or like like you're missing anything in the game. It's really the same thing over and over, just repasted. When you look at the new combat wise, like there really isn't any hard fights in my opinion in this DLC. Probably the hardest fight you would have is fighting one of the hard monsters, quote unquote, early on when you could just wait, and that was probably the only fight I actually ever like legitimately had a hard time on, because it was literally just one-shotting and you would have to perfect dodge everything. Once again, that's completely on the player to when they want to take that fight. So once again, I don't even see that as being hard, because you can literally just come back later and just fight it when you're at equal level. Ultimately wise, the story is a big factor, and let's just say it was pretty much called as soon as all the information, once the DLC notes were released, when the trailer released, I'm sorry, that it was going to be short, and it was going to be pretty generic. The new character was not going to be a new playable character, and since they're the only new character added, they would be the final boss. And once again, people pretty much called it Nanami or whatever, Nazumi or whatever you want to call her, yada yada. I honestly just didn't care for her. It very same tropey-ish. La la la, it's my fault, blah blah blah. Everyone hates me. I'm gonna change the world so everybody's the same. It's pretty darn generic. It's really not that great. She was literally the only cinematic quote unquote boss fight in the game, and it wasn't really what I would say fun to play. It wasn't hard. It was literally just a Omni tank boss, and she posed like absolutely zero threat to you as a player, even with the Mystic Art. I never felt like I was threatened by her, even on even harder difficulties. It was just a tank fight at the end of the day. I mean, ultimately the story was bogged down. It was really lazy. It was a bunch of fast quests just going to area. A lot of the subquests were literally just fast quests, and they comprised most of my time playing the game was just warping back and forth to do the subquest for the trophies. And that main quest itself, people have been saying like 8 hours. I think you're looking at maybe 3 hours. If you skip everything else, you're looking at like 3 hours. Honestly, like I would save your time and money and probably just buy this on sale. Honestly, the $40 was a huge scam for this game. Realistically speaking, if they included all the DLC, aka the clothing DLC and the SAO DLC, into the $40 price tag, I think it would be actually legitimately more beneficial because it's separated out. And you obviously like, oh, because if someone paid for the costume earlier on and they don't get it with this pack, yada yada yada, it puts like virtual interest, blah blah blah. People are gonna get pit, bro. Just put it all together. Literally put everything together and just sell it with this DLC. That would have been a much better deal. Ultimately, guys, like I still love the game. Honestly, if you're looking for more Tales of Arise gameplay, just play the game again. Just play the game again. You don't need to spend $40 for this. So, you know, I'm when I look at this in retrospect, like it's hard for me. Like I love DLC and I think it's a great way, but 2 years, you can tell that they almost just didn't care. 2 years, this realistically should have came in 3 months after the game finished at most, but 2 years is it's way too late. It's way too late, and I would rather them have that time spent making the next game. I would rather them see them making the next game rather than this DLC, because this was literally a waste of time. Until the next one, peace out.